All right, let's talk about one of the highest stakes games in the world, creating a new medicine. We're talking about decisions that can cost billions of dollars and, more importantly, change millions of lives.
So put yourself in the shoes of a pharmaceutical company. You've poured years of research and a massive fortune into a new drug that looks really promising. But how do you really know if it's going to be a success? How do you make that billion-dollar bet with any kind of confidence? That's the big question we're going to tackle.
Because here's the thing, and this is the real secret. You could have the most amazing, groundbreaking cure in the world, but it's basically worthless if you don't know exactly who it's for. The real challenge isn't just in the test tube, it's out here, in the real world, understanding the incredibly complex landscape of actual patients.
And that brings us to what the industry calls the pharma dilemma. It's all about choosing the perfect patient group for a new drug. You see, if you get this wrong, it's a catastrophe. A failed drug, billions of dollars down the drain, and patients who are still waiting for a solution. To make this real, let's follow an example. A new drug for a nasty, persistent cough that comes with a serious lung disease called IPF.
So this dilemma, it breaks down into some really tough questions. Companies have to figure out who has the highest unmet need. In other words, who's not being helped by the treatments that are already out there. They need to understand how bad the disease really is for patients, factor in how often people actually get diagnosed, and map out the entire patient journey to see exactly where a new drug would fit in. For our IPF cough drug, this means finding the people whose cough isn't just some small annoyance, it's completely ruining their quality of life.
So how do they find that specific group? Well, think of it like a funnel. Using our IPF example, you'd start at the top with everyone who has the disease. Then you narrow it down to only those who have actually been diagnosed. From there, you narrow it again to those who are getting some kind of treatment. And finally, at the very bottom, you isolate that super important group, the patients with a severe, relentless cough that other therapies just aren't touching. That is your target. That's the sweet spot. Okay, so how do you navigate that funnel with any kind of accuracy? You can't just guess. You pretty much need a crystal ball. And in the world of pharma, that crystal ball is powered by massive amounts of data. It's a field called epidemiology forecasting. To put it simply, epidemiology forecasting is the science of predicting the future of a disease. It uses powerful analytics to sift through tons of historical data and current trends to figure out how many people have a disease, where they are, and how those numbers are going to change over time. Think of it like a GPS for navigating the entire map of a disease.
And that is absolutely the key takeaway here. This isn't just about looking backwards. It's about using the past and the present to build a really solid data-driven map of the future.
And this is where it all becomes crystal clear. This is a real forecast. For our example, that cough linked to the lung disease IPF. Look at these numbers. This is the estimated number of diagnosed cases for the year 2026, broken down by country. All of a sudden, the market isn't just some vague concept. It's a hard number. We're talking over 82,000 potential patients in the US, more than 17,000 in Japan. This is the kind of detail you need to build a smart global strategy.
Seeing a number as precise as 82,110 is one thing. But you're probably wondering, how on earth do you get to that specific figure? Well, it takes a seriously sophisticated forecasting engine. So let's pop the hood and see how these projections are actually built.
A really accurate forecast is a mix of hard data and brilliant human intelligence. It all starts with digging through scientific papers and crunching what's called real-world evidence. That's anonymized data from patient records and insurance claims. But then it gets layered with deep insights into the patient experience, and, this is crucial, it taps into a huge network of key opinion leaders. These are the top doctors and researchers in the field who make sure the data actually matches what's happening in the clinic.
And the magic that pulls all of this together? You guessed it, artificial intelligence. AI is the engine that synthesizes all these massive, messy data sets, finds patterns that no human ever could, and runs these complex predictive models at incredible speeds.
And here's what makes it so powerful for the people using it. Researchers don't have to be data scientists. They can literally just ask a question in plain English, something like, what's the burden of IPF-associated cough in major markets? And boom, they get an instant answer, complete with charts, data, and all the sources. And the scale here is just wow. This kind of AI-powered forecasting is already being used for over 200 different diseases and conditions, covering all the major markets around the globe.
Okay, so let's bring this all back home.
We've got this incredible data, this amazing technology, but so what? How does all this forecasting actually lead to better drugs for people who need them? How does it change the game? This slide really says it all. It shows this huge shift in strategy. We are moving away from an old model that was based on intuition, a lot of guesswork really, to a new world of data-driven precision. Instead of just casting a wide net and hoping for the best, companies can now laser focus on those specific patient groups with the biggest unmet need. It's a complete shift from being reactive to being truly proactive.
So let's think about the real-world impact. For our IPF drug example, it means that instead of just guessing, the company knows for a fact that there's a potential market of over 82,000 patients in the US alone who desperately need help. They can design a clinical trial specifically for that group, addressing a huge gap in care. This kind of optimization just massively increases the odds that a truly effective drug makes it all the way to the finish line.
And at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. This isn't just about making better business decisions or creating fancy spreadsheets. It's about using data to make smarter choices that get better, more targeted solutions to the patients who need them most, and getting them there faster.
Which leaves us with a pretty mind-blowing final thought. We now have the ability to map out the future of a disease with incredible accuracy. With that kind of power, what does that mean for the next generation of medicine? What huge problems can we start solving before they even get a chance to emerge? That is the exciting new frontier we are just beginning to explore.